Hi there and welcome to Mennonite Farmhouse. Today we're going to keep the Canuary celebration going with a hearty, delicious chicken stew that's perfect for canning. Not only is this recipe comforting and nutritious, but it's also a lifesaver when you need a quick homemade meal during those busy days. Also, we're focused on safe canning practices, and today we're going to be using the Ball Blue Book of Preserving as our guide. If you're new to canning or looking for a reliable recipe, this is a must-have book in your kitchen. It is the golden standard for generations. In this video, I'll be showing you step-by-step how to make this safe canning hearty chicken stew. This video is part of Canuary, hosted by Lisa over at SuttonsDaze, and you want to check out all the creators in this playlist and comment on each one of their videos because that will increase your chance of winning not one, but 2 pressure canners. Or Jar Lids is going to be donating one of those pressure canners along with some other great prizes. Lisa's also giving away a steam canner, so leave a heartfelt comment and good luck, and I'll see you at the live stream on January 31st at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time on SuttonsDaze. Good luck, everyone. But first, let's prepare a jar of it for my husband and see what he thinks of it. First, I just started with a basic roux of 2 tablespoons of butter and 2 tablespoons of flour, and I let that cook for a minute while whisking to make sure it doesn't stick to the bottom of the pan. Then it's time to open that jar and listen for that seal. You always want to pay attention and listen for that whoosh sound coming from their jar to know you have a good seal in that jar.
Smells good. Very good.
So you will have it again?
Yeah.
When washing your vegetables, you want to make sure you're removing any dirt, debris, or bacteria. Root vegetables like carrots and potatoes and beets are grown underground, so use cold running water and gently scrub each vegetable with a vegetable breath or a Norwex towel to make sure they are clean. Once your vegetables are washed, it's time to peel. Peeling is very important for a few reasons. It removes any remaining dirt and bacteria to ensure your final product is smooth and visually appealing. But some vegetables, like potatoes, can be discolored during the canning process. With mushrooms, you want to lightly run cold water over them and use a paper towel to knock the dirt off. And only wash them right before you use them. And I love using my vegetable chopper to dice my carrots and my celery and my onions. Very valuable tool. When you're measuring out your vegetables, you want to use your dry measure cups and not your wet measure cups. You can use previously frozen vegetables from the store in your canning. Just make sure they're thawed out. And there are a few vegetables I wouldn't can from frozen, like green beans and mushrooms. Alright, with cutting up chicken, I always use a cookie sheet underneath my cutting board. And I know somebody's going to tell me to put a towel under it, just because they want to prevent the wobbling. There we go. And you never want to wash your chicken before you cut it, because all the germs that might be on the chicken is going to go all over your kitchen sink, your counters. You're going to make more work than you should. So I always just cut up my chicken and throw it in the pan or wherever it's going. So we're going to cut this into 1 to 2 inch pieces. That way I have less mess and just have to throw the cutting board in the dishwasher. The recipe I'm using is from the all-new Ball Book of Canning and Preserving. It's on page 284, and I chose to highlight this recipe in Canuary because it's a meal starter and it's good for 2 people and it's portion controlled that way. And it makes 6 pints in one batch. For the hearty chicken stew, we're going to need 5 cups of chicken stock, which that recipe can be found on 288 in this book. And we're going to need 1.5 cups of carrots, a bay leaf, salt and pepper to taste, a half a cup of sweet peas, a cup of potatoes, a half a cup of mushrooms, a half cup of celery, 1/2 cups of onions, 3 cups of cubed deboned chicken, a cup of wine, thyme, and a tablespoon of lemon juice, along with 3 tablespoons of butter. Alright, into a heavy duty stainless steel pot, you want to put your 3 tablespoons of butter in and put it on medium-low heat to melt your butter. Now, most test recipes don't have dairy in it, but this is an exception because you're sauteing your onions and your celery and your carrots down, so there'll be little dairy in it when we get it in the jar. Then you want to add your onions and your mushrooms and saute them. We're going to time that 3 minutes. And we're going to add our carrots and our potatoes to the pot, and celery. Have cooked the carrots, the potatoes, and the celery for 2 minutes. We're going to add our chicken stock, and mine's gelatin just because it came from good broth and it's fresh. Then our cup of wine. Now, if you don't want the wine, you can easily add another cup of chicken stock and a teaspoon of thyme, a teaspoon of salt, and a half a teaspoon of black pepper. And a bay leaf. Now we're going to increase the heat to medium-high and let this come to a boil. Then we're going to reduce to a simmer for 10 minutes. And you want to make sure you're doing this uncovered too. Don't put the lid on to make it come to a boil. You want to keep the lid off. Alright, it's boiling now, so we're going to reduce it to a medium heat, uncovered, and let it simmer for 10 minutes or until the vegetables are tender. Alright, it's been 10 minutes, so we're going to take it off the heat and add our chicken, lemon juice, and peas. So we're going to add our 3 cups of chicken, our peas. If you're using lemon juice, make sure you're shaking up the ball before you add it. Now you want to find that bay leaf and discard it, because that's not good eats. Now we need to get our jars ready. Before you want to wash your jars, you want to wash your sink out. Nothing like good food safety when you're preparing food to go into jars. So you want to make sure your sink is good and clean. Now I'm going to fill up the sink with good hot soapy water. And for good measure, a splash of vinegar. Alright, you want to wash your rings. Wash your lids and make sure they're for jar lids. You can use my code for 10% off. You want to check your rims for cracks or anywhere else. Any cracks might compromise your jars and that might cause breaking in the canner. So give your jars a thorough inspection. I use a dedicated jar brush to wash my jars. use it for nothing else but just washing jars. I've canned so many times that it just comes naturally to make sure I have all the supplies I need to fill these jars. Now the recipe calls for pints. You can't can it in quarts because it's not tested safe for quarts. You have to follow the rules of the recipe to be safe. So we got our hot jar and our funnel, and we're going to ladle in no more than half solids, because this is a stew and you want to make sure you have liquids in there too for each jar. Then you want to debubble, make sure you get all that air out of there. Then we're going to measure our headspace and add just a tiny bit more. Headspace is very important when it comes to canning. Alright. Then you want to wipe your rim. Add your 4-jar lid. Then we're going to add our ring to fingertip tight. And it's just when you can't touch it anymore and it won't move. That's fingertip tight. Now that all our jars are filled and put in the canner, we're going to carefully examine our canner for our gasket, because I just replaced it on the last run I've done. And you want to make sure your plug's really good. Make sure your vent bowl, you can see through it. And then you want to make sure this arrow and this arrow line up when you're putting the canner lid on, and squeeze your handles together. Then I put my heat on medium high. Then we're going to wait until we have a steam constantly coming up strong. Then we're going to time it for 10 minutes. Then we'll put our weight on. In the meantime, I'm going to put my weight there just so I have it ready. I know this is hard to see on film, maybe. But we have a steady stream, so we're going to time it 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Now we're going to wait till it starts rocking at a good pace. Then we'll set our timer. As it's rocking like crazy at a medium-high heat, you want to start moving back your heat till it's going to be doing a slow Hulu. You're going to do it a little bit at a time. So you can't set your timer right now until it slows down its rock. It's very important to know your altitude when using your pressure canner, either a dial gauge or a 3-piece weight. Anything above 1,000 feet, you need to use a 15-pound weight. But anything less than 1,000 feet, you just need a 10-pound weight. Now it's doing a Hulu like back and forth slowly. So we're going to set our timer for 1 hour and 15 minutes, which is 75 minutes. Alright, when your timer is up, turn off the heat and slowly back away from the canner. Walk away. Just walk away. We're going to wait for this dial gauge. We're going to wait for that dial gauge to come down to 0. and that plug to come drop. Then we'll wait 10 minutes. Then we might open the lid. But you want this to slowly come off pressure. So our 10-minute timer has gone off. So we're slowly going to take off our 3-piece pressure weight and slowly turn our lid. And we're just going to prop it up a little bit and wait 10 more minutes. Then we'll take our lid off. Alright, it's been about 10 minutes, so we're going to slowly take this lid off. And again, I'm going to let this sit for another 10 minutes just to slow down the cooling process. You don't want to go from one extreme to the other quickly. So I'm going to let this sit for another 10 minutes. Alright, it is time to get these jars out of the canner. And look how pretty that is. Oh, so pretty. And I believe these have all sealed. So no worry there if they're not going to seal or not. And I have no siphoning because this is mostly liquids and not solids. We're going to let these sit for 24 hours. Then we're going to remove the rings and wash the jars and check for a good seal. Then we're going to store them in a cool, dry place after we label them. So I would like to thank you for watching this video. I sure do appreciate it, especially at the end of the video. It sure helps me out. And if you want to continue watching my channel, may I suggest my playlist on canning? I highly recommend it. It's not everything I can, but it'll get you a good start on learning something new if you're just starting out canning. Take care and God bless.